Okay, hello and welcome everyone to today's event on the future of maintenance management for Dynamics AX, looking at IoT, analytics, and self-learning machines. I'm Jason Gumpert from msdynamicsworld.com, and joining me today is Wim Pluimers. He is a product manager at Dynamics Software. So as we get started, please know that you can add your feedback and ask questions using the Q&A block that you should see to the right of the main presentation window. You can use that Q&A block at any point during the session. I know Vim will be making time for questions at the end. So without further delay, I am happy to turn things over to Vim.
Thank you, Jason, and good evening or good afternoon, everyone, from where you are joining. It's my pleasure to welcome you in this session for the next 45 to 60 minutes, where I will show you our vision on new era for maintenance with Dynamics AX and how the world is changing from preventative and reactive maintenance towards proactive maintenance. First of all, a little bit about myself. As Jason introduced me, I'm a senior product manager working for Dynamics Software in the Netherlands. I have been working for more than 20 years in the ERP industry. Last year or 5 or so, I have been joining AX, and most of the time I used to be a product manager. Well, this is a remote session, so it's difficult, of course, to see everyone. So we like always to show a little bit of our personal life as well. I'm married to my lovely wife. Together we've got 4 kids, 3 girls and a boy. The girls, they love to do the horse riding, which day and age they definitely didn't get from me. But together with my son, I like to do some fishing if time permits. We play some soccer, and if time left, especially in the weekends, I like to be a little bit of a hobby chef and prepare some nice meals back home. That's a little bit about myself as an introduction. Let me show you the agenda now. First, I will give an overview of Dynamics Software as a company, who we are, and then I will tell a bit more about Dynamics Software maintenance management, also mobile maintenance management, and the type of products that we are offering. Then I will explain the concept of the Internet of Things, also related to a maintenance environment. Then I will show an Internet of Things showcase using the latest version of Dynamics AX, which is the new Dynamics AX. And at the end, as Jason mentioned, there is a Q&A session, so feel free to ask any questions. And with regard to that question, you don't have to wait until the end. You can just raise your questions, and Jason will collect them for me to answer at the end of the webinar. First of all, a bit about Dynamics Software. We are based, as I mentioned, in the Netherlands, and we have been, well, this year is year number 11 as that we are known as Dynamics Software. However, we have more history. It dates back to the early 2000s, actually, where we operated under a different name, but we were one of the first ones that also joined the AX, then called Accepta world, so to say. And so since 2005, we have been working as an independent software vendor to Microsoft. Over the years, we have been growing. You can see some counts. People that know us from the past, they know that we were only offering AX solutions. However, we now also are using, we are offering other solutions. We see that Microsoft is changing its strategy. So especially CRM is a very key product that we are also offering services and solutions on, but also on Azure, SharePoint, and Office 365. One of that examples is that we offer an integrated document management solutions which stores documents in SharePoint but makes them visible in AX, and you can upload them from Office. So that we are, just to mention that we are broadening our product portfolio, and we will continue to do that. We are based in 5 different locations to span the globe. We have got 2 offices in the US and Canada. We have got 2 offices in Europe, one is which is the head office, which is in the Netherlands, and a development center in Macedonia, close to Greece. And on the Far East, we have got a sales and services office in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. We do have a strategic partnership with more than between 45 and 50 strategic partners. What does it mean? Well, we used to have a partner count of more than 100. We decided to reduce that because we believe in a more strategic partnership. So we had a number of partners that were once-off. They once implemented our products, and then, you know, that we believe that's not a benefit to none the customer, none the partner, nor ourselves. So we shifted to a strategic partnership. And over the years, we have been building on our customer count. We exceed now 300 customers and more than 18,000 users. Most of them are in the service management and the maintenance management area, but we have other products, as I mentioned. People might know it from a graphical planning board solution, a rental management solution, or some of the other products. So that's a bit about dynamic software. If I look to the latest recent projects on maintenance management, well, you can see on this next slide here that this spans the globe. We have got a company called Granny's Poultry live in Canada. The implementation is well on the way for ATC in the US. There is also another one in the US that's live, which is Peterson in Utah. In Europe, we have got Murba Pastry Bakers. They make chip cookies. They are based, actually kind of right next door, also in Holland. AB Mauri is implementing our solution. And the very well-known, worldwide well-known name is Nestlé. Nestlé Waters is a whole division that decided to move to AX. And we are very happy to be, as maintenance management, to be part of the key projects everywhere. So Saudi Arabia, as well as Vietnam, where they operate under a different name, they are operational on AX, and well, we look to start new projects very shortly in the lower Gulf states, Egypt, and in the Middle East region. So just in a nutshell, also Centurion Australia, a fleet management company, also one of our valued customers. A bit more about what are we offering in maintenance management as a solution. Actually, as a product provider close to AX, we look very closely to what standard Microsoft Dynamics AX can offer and where there are gaps that we need to fulfill. And in maintenance, it was very obvious that there was a tree structure missing, so we support a multi-level tree structure, which, for example, can be used for sites, and sites can contain multiple buildings. Within the building, you can define multiple production line, and production line can have like a preparation section, conveyor belts can have a processing section, and a packaging section. And then, you know, a machine can be drilled down again into an electrical section and a mechanical section, no matter what. And, you know, technically the tree structure can go to 99 levels or so, but we see, you know, that 6, 7 levels is usually more than enough. Otherwise, it also can get very complicated. So that's a very key component, that we support a multi-level tree structure. And on the other side, we integrate very tightly with Microsoft Project, and there's good reason for that. In Project, we have got the project management and accounting functionality, and that is very useful, you know, to do all kind of cost accounting. So if you look here to full financial forecasting and cost evaluation, it means that we fully leverage the project management and accounting module, so that we use the forecasting tools from the projects, and we post journals, so we will be able to do cost evaluations afterwards. So that's an example of how we use what standard AX can provide, instead of building our own solutions right next to AX. That's not what we are doing. However, in those areas where functionality is missing, we of course add functionality, and that's the next one, which is the maintenance scheduling. What we have done, and I'll spend some time also on the next slide, but we have a flexible preventative maintenance schedule, and that is supposed to take away a lot of worry of when an equipment is due for maintenance. The system should take care of that, and you just have to run a batch job periodically to ensure that all the equipment that should be incorporated in preventative maintenance schedules is in there. Well, we have got a number of other features like integration to a fixed asset module. We're also very well known for our graphical planning and scheduling, which tool we have separate for production, but it's also working for maintenance. And then in maintenance, there is quite often the need for the support of criticality. We have a severity metric, as we call it, and that's to go and to take the next step instead of just mentioning priority, but it kind of balances between severity and urgency. So that's our severity metrics. Yeah, so many more features to name, but these are the most important ones. Here you see a screenshot of how it looks in the new AX. That's the version that's about to be released. And the product is available on 2012, 2009, and even on AX4, although support on AX4 is closing very shortly. So, but it's available on most versions of AX over the time. What else is, let's say, as functionality is important to know. Again, let me start here at the base. We have got several modules of AX that we are integrating with, like the purchasing module, so the purchasing of spare parts, whether that needs to be done manually, like for once-off parts, or whether they need to be part of an MRP or a master planning. We support both scenarios. We simply fully leverage financials together with financial dimensions and postings and so on. So we utilize the inventory management module. So spare part inventory is just a matter of additional items in usually a separate warehouse and so on. So we integrate very tightly into standard AX. And on top of that, we have added our own functionality. As I mentioned, the tree structure, which we call the equipment hierarchy, but also things like equipment properties. And well, just to name an example, we recently had a customer that also was a fleet management company, and besides all the trucks they wanted to define as an equipment, they also wanted to have a number of inspection data, like on a vacuum pump inspection data, and the car's inspection data, they needed some additional fields for that, and usually that requires customization. However, that is not the case here, because with equipment properties you can just add a number of pre-configured additional data fields, so just to extend your equipment card without having to modify or to customize the system. That's the benefit of equipment properties. Within the tree structure, we can do what's called cost roll-up and cost ripple down, which means that if you have got work orders and your engineers are posting parts, posting cost of the number of hours that have been working, part cost, expenses, whatever, that can go on the lowest level of a work order, and because of the hierarchy, the cost will roll up so that the maintenance manager can just view at the end of the day saying, okay, how much cost has it been in maintenance on an entire production line, for example. So that's the building block number one, which is the object or equipment management. Second is the plant maintenance. That means that we have a specific section which can provide maintenance schedule, and these are not initially initiated to the equipment, but for example, just to say we have got a weekly inspection or daily inspection, we have got monthly lubrication, and like an annual production stop, and within those kind of maintenance tasks you do different steps, and well, because they can be used on multiple type of equipment, you can just then link predefined maintenance schedule to multiple equipment, and that's the relationship between the equipment and the maintenance, and that was taking care of an automatic generation of preventative maintenance. So if you have the batch job, the system was just running your preventative maintenance. And with defining the maintenance horizon, you can define yourself, whether you want to see maintenance schedules for the next 90 days or the next half a year, or maybe as we have several customers, they want to see the maintenance schedule for like 5 to 10 years. We have got customers that just want to see the entire lifespan maintenance plan on some pieces of equipment. We can support that. We also leverage the forecasting capabilities of AX, and in that way it is possible for a maintenance manager to make capacity forecast already early in the year. So now we're in June. Suppose that you want to see a forecast on what kind of capacity do I require in November, December, then the system will show you which equipment is due for maintenance in November. And then you can see, can I cover it with my standard own worker force, or do I need to hire external people? So that's building block number 2. That's the whole maintenance planning. And these two together, they result in the work order management. And work order management means that you can have the system generate work orders for you based on the maintenance plan, or you can you can create your work orders yourself, like in the case of a breakdown or something incidental happens. That's also an option. Here's where the priority can be determined with the severity metrics. You can track the order, you can schedule it, you can dispatch it, you can put work documentation on it, permits. Again, here is the graphical planning and scheduling board, which takes care of the actual dispatching in a graphical overview. So, well, this is the day-to-day execution section of the maintenance management solution. Of course, this is just in a nutshell what we are offering today. Maybe some of you have seen it before, and they know that this is the functionality together with some others that we are offering. However, and that brings me back to the theme of today, the new era is the way that work orders are being generated. Because what we see is coming to the Internet of Things is that there is new different ways that instead of setting up maintenance schedules, which is kind of a frequency-based or a usage-based, the system now, with Internet of Things, it is also possible to just read device data, and based on that device information, you can transfer that into information and saying, okay, now we need to just raise a work order because of a device calling for it. And that's the proactive maintenance. And at the end, as I mentioned, I will show you in the showcase how we vision that and how that is working actually in a showcase, and how that also could benefit in your personal business situation. Also, a product that is very interesting, especially for those of you that are not yet having plans to move to AX7 but want to stay like in AX 2012. We also have a mobile maintenance management solution that we built together, especially with our Dutch customer Merba, as I just mentioned before. We have initially designed this to work from a tablet, with the idea that we equip engineers with a tablet device, a ruggedized device, or a normal tablet, and they can just run around in the production floor and take new orders, new work orders in if there is a problem, or they can just start working on a scheduled order that they have gotten from the planning. And in that way, it is possible to just, instead of having to go to look for documentation, to look for work instructions, or to post back results, or to post spare parts and so on, all the things that you normally need AX for, so a kind of a laptop or any kind of a station, that's now possible all from the tablet. And as it's fully integrated in maintenance management, so all the functionality that you see is updated online in real time. And yeah, it's really very useful to just read user manuals. We attach them to the equipment, and they are always visible as a PDF, for example. You can find the history. You can start and stop tasks. It's a very simplified entry of breakdowns where you also can utilize barcode scanning. So we have one customer that is equipping all their machines with QR codes. So then with the tablet you can just scan the barcode, and that will automatically identify the equipment number, and then you can just raise a work order. Just in a number of steps. It's a very simple, basic process, but it's really powerful. And here that is, as you can see, it's based on Windows, like the ruggedized devices that we are working with the customer. They are Windows based, but it's also working on iOS or Android devices. And because it is browser based, because within the tablet we just use a browser, because it's browser based, several customers are asked us saying, okay, hey, can you also run AX then from a browser? And the answer is yes, you can. You can just go in and use a browser and do the basic things that an engineer is used to do. I mean, the design was to take some of the functionality out and use that in the browser, but yeah, that's possible. This is a product that is staying in AX 2012 towards the new AX, which is already fully browser-based. We will probably, still maintain and enhance it on AX 2012, but we will just utilize again what what the standard options are in the Neo AX without upgrading this product itself. We will just use the new tools that Microsoft is providing. Looking to maintenance management, we identify 3 different roles. It's the role of the maintenance manager, the maintenance planner, and the maintenance engineer, besides other roles that you can identify, like purchasing or warehousing or stock picking and so on. But these are the main new roles in maintenance, and we have also defined them in the Neo AX and in AX 2012 as well. The maintenance manager is the guy that identifies based on analysis data and decides, for example, do we still maintain the life cycle of an equipment? Will it keep going on for another year, or are we deciding on writing it off and applying for new capital investment for new equipment? So based on that, you need to have accurate information from the shop floor saying, okay, what kind of maintenance cost have we had over the past couple of years, and is that worth the decision to go for new things, or should we stay on what we've got? Second kind of question that the maintenance manager usually needs is, how is my workforce doing? Do I have enough capacity? Do I have too much or not enough? And if you can forecast and see, okay, like in October and November, we plan a number of lines to go for a production stop, and then you can see, for example, that there is a capacity problem, then in an early stage, the maintenance manager can decide to say, okay, we are going to hire a couple of new employees from the outside. That's the first role, the manager role. The second is the planner role. And a planner role in our way does 2 things. He makes a rough plan saying, okay, I need to collect all the work from preventative and from breakdowns that we've got, and saying, okay, in the next couple of weeks, what can I expect? And are we still okay to go, or should we make changes in the maintenance scheduling? And based on that rough plan, he also commits it to a weekly, usually a dispatched plan, saying, okay, this is the work or task that is going to David as an engineer, and this is going to John, and this is going to Joe, and so on. So that's the role of a planner, to just sit on top of the actual day-to-day work, to see if the work can be dispatched, and to verify as well if it's being completed. Then the last role is the maintenance engineer, where the engineer is just picking up the work. Again, very useful also with the tablet device, because it can just review the work and the instructions that he needs to do, the user manuals that he might require, the permits that he needs. All that kind of things can be provided to him by the planner, and he can execute the work and post the results back in a way that you can post like costs kind of data, like for hours or for spare parts and so on, but also give analysis back, like what was the cause of a problem and how did you resolve it. And that can be drawn, like written on like in a note text box, or like you sometimes still done on a piece of paper. And it can also be done by using what we have like complaint, cause and solution codes. So to code it, and that will feed again the analysis, and then the analysis again is the base for the manager to make his own decisions. So in that way the circle rounds with the three roles that we have identified. Again, they are sitting just on top of what standard AX can offer, but yeah, and for the rest, warehouse purchasing, all the kind of functions, we simply use what standard AX can offer. Okay, let's move on to the next topic, which is Internet of Things in the maintenance environment. Just to start, what exactly is the Internet of Things called? It's a term that is well known in the IT industry. However, if I try to speak to people, let's say on a birthday party or so, with family and friends, I always have to explain what this term means. So I thought, just to be on the same page, let's just explain what Internet of Things and what machine learning is all about. Also because we work very closely with Microsoft, and they have got their Azure Cortana Intelligence Suite, which is also having components like Internet of Things and machine learning tools. Well, IoT or Internet of Things means actually that you have got information carriers out there that can provide you with data, and that can be sensors and or machines. And the new part of that is that you just can connect them in any way to the internet, and then all of a sudden devices that were sitting like remotely and were disconnected from your organization, all of a sudden can provide accurate data. Just to give you an example, we are working now on one of our proof of value pilots. That is a Dutch company that rents out big aggregates, like for roadworks or for festivals and so on. And they can stand everywhere. And now they are in the process of equipping all their generators with sensors. And besides that, these sensors can give their GPS data, they also give accurate numbers of running hours. And that's extremely important to them, because nowadays they just estimate, that if an aggregate needs maintenance every 500 hours, they just guess when an aggregate is due for maintenance, and then they send an engineer out there. But then it's happening very often that an engineer finds out, that he's way too early or way too late, because such an aggregate sometimes runs for an hour a day and sometimes runs full day. So for them, to optimize and to lower the cost of maintenance just by having more accurate information, for them it's a very worthwhile investment to say, okay, how can we utilize our generators with devices which we can connect to the internet. And that's what in this way Internet of Things is all about. Second is the machine learning. We also have another proof of value running. That's another customer. They are in the agricultural, horticultural industry, and they provide fertilizers to glass houses, so that where they grow the crops and so on. And again, they need to be very sure that they'll never go out of fertilizer, because that would result in claim from their customers. But then again, to balance, when to send out for new, to supply new fertilizers, they also want to optimize that. And now, together with them, we are starting a project on machine learning. And what we are doing is to take their sales data, so their logistical information from last year, and connect that to weather information, so local weather information, to just try to learn, see, okay, is there any connection, is there any pattern that that we can see that there is a relationship between the weather, like humidity or pressure or temperature or rainfall rate or whatever, that we can learn from, and that can influence, the supply of the fertilizers. And well, that's really interesting, because that's exactly what machine learning is about. You just feed a machine, and a machine is in this way just a database with a lot of data, and just to try to learn and say, okay, can we be more predictable? Last week I was in a course hosted by Microsoft on Azure and Cortana Intelligence and so on, and they gave some other examples. For example, they were with another customer working on a system, also a machine learning tool, and they wanted to see, can we predict from a leads list of 500 leads, which leads will become a customer. And so that's a very interesting one. And also there, you just combine all sorts of data, which might not have initially any relationship, but you just combine them and try to learn and to see, can we see patterns, and can we learn our system to be more predictable? So yeah, this is something that has been talked about for quite a while, and you see that now that it's becoming more, it's becoming more common to see, like in Europe here, it's quite common. Like if I'm heating my house, I do have a thing like what's called a smart device. I can operate that from my telephone, so I can just switch on the heating and switch off the heating from my telephone. I don't need to be at home. Well, in fact, that's the same. It's a sensor which is connected to the internet, and just with the basic rules of security and so on, you can just connect that information sitting at home to my telephone as a device, and I can do my actions. So Internet of Things is basically everywhere. And well, looking to the next picture, it's always kind of a simplified overview that you say you've got things, devices, sensors, information sources, databases, and this information can be stored, and then with the new tools like Azure Machine Learning, but also things like Power BI, which is a very powerful tool from Microsoft as well, you can do better, you can do your work better. And that, in the case of maintenance, we strongly believe this is going to go into predictive maintenance, just to name an example. Well, maybe good that in the session that we had earlier today, I also got a question. Is it also possible to use old-fashioned RS-232 kind of connections as a thing? And in fact, it is the same way, because what it does is saying, okay, that might be an old-fashioned connection, but what it does is it feeds data over here. So it's just an old-fashioned combination. But of course, the new things, and we try to be innovative, is saying, okay, how can we attach new devices with just like a GPS or a data card in it, and that can just send via the data network, can provide the information from a machine that's really remote. So the way that you get your information is exploding actually, but then the capturing of the information, ideally also in the cloud. So that's why Azure is very important, and then to use that to build information from the data, from the sheer amount of data that you've got. So this is, in fact, a simplified way, and this is the whole, in a nutshell, what Internet of Things is all about. I also got a question this afternoon. Maybe it's good to mention here, saying, okay, what exactly is the response of customers if you look at this? Customers are really interested in this, because they all believe, they can benefit in some way of doing this. And it's to a certain extent, it's getting the technology together. but in a way, it can be new to do it in the cloud, and that can be very useful way of doing that. Um, on the other hand, it's a matter of first knowing exactly what you want to achieve with it. For example, the customer case I was mentioning about, they have a direct benefit in the reduction of maintenance costs. They are just more spot on with planning their maintenance, which is saving them heaps of money. So that's relatively small investment. It's also has been a small project and with a great result. So that's a very good way of starting that out. And and that's the best way of getting this to work. So just in a nutshell, it's about improving efficiency because you get more accurate data, and with the data you can just do better monitoring. Monitoring that you can do already today, like with MES systems and so on, but also with enabling internet technology, you can just do from devices that might sit very remotely. This enables innovation. As I mentioned, this now is also in a way going out of the organizational door, because usually MES systems, databases, and these kind of information systems sits inside. But now, with the cloud structures and the cloud providers, it's becoming more and more common to have that also out there in the internet. And that's definitely a different way of looking at it. Of course, we get the question of how secure and how safe is my data, things we also need to address very clearly. But then in the end, it will transform your business. Because if you look what this is doing, I mean, rather than waiting for a device sitting remotely to break down, now you can read the information, the data from it, and then you can transform the data into information saying, maybe we need to already replace a part instead of waiting for the part to break down. So in that way, the business is transformed. Your equipment will stay more operational, have more operational uptime, and in that way you can, enable and embark into the next era also of maintenance. Just a number of slides before I will go and show you our showcase. Well, of course, working very closely to Microsoft, and as I mentioned, I was in a course last week which was very well organized by Microsoft. They have got the Azure IoT prepacked solutions to just do all of this, and it means that they have several ways of connecting devices via the cloud into the Azure storage over here, and then that's the technical side that IoT and Microsoft can leverage for you. And then of course it's the business's own intelligence to say, okay, now we've got the data, but now how to transform that into information. Because data in itself is nothing, but it's the decision making based on the data that is key. And out of the data, of course, there is also tools that can help you validate the information, because like I will show you the example of just of a thermometer, and as soon you don't need all the data, but you need to know when the temperature is going to exceed a certain threshold, and that's the information that you want to know. So, well, that kind of configuration that is partly is the IP, the intelligence of every separate business, and that's what you need to figure out once the basics have been done for the technical side. But then it enables you to just connect everything from the outside world and use that as internal information. So in a nutshell, how Internet of Things is changing maintenance. MES production that will increasingly drive preventative maintenance. We have another example of a customer saying, we want to not wait and wait on preventive maintenance, but just see based on very accurate information that maybe we just want to replace a part even long before it has worn out. So that will drive predictive maintenance. And also, one of the already long ongoing trends is that we see that machines are getting more complicated, more enhanced, more costly, and they just need to be up and utilized as much as possible. So you need to reduce the number of breakdowns and the number of stops. And the better you plan your maintenance, especially on the key equipment parts, the better your operational results will be. And then on the end, what have we done as dynamic software in this world? Again, just to mention this one that I just was outlining, we leverage technologies such as Azure IoT suite, and as a very sustainable provider in that way. Also, we have got some base functionality already available in AX 2012, where we use just meter values like for mileage or for running hours, and these values can be compared with maintenance schedules and saying, okay, based on the actual mileage or on the actual running hours, do we need to prepone or do we need to postpone maintenance? Well, and of course this can be manually, but we can also receive an external data source, and that's the very first groundstroke that we actually did in IoT in 2012. We also have a couple of pilot projects, and maybe for those of you that have been on conversions, either in New Orleans in March or in Barcelona last year, they might have seen, one of my colleagues showing a pilot project also in AX 2012. And again, we have been moving this also to the new Dynamics AX, both for maintenance and service. So actually, we are taking our first steps also to utilize external device data and to help improve, everyday service and maintenance organizations. So that brings me to my next topic, which is the showcase in the new Dynamics AX. What we've done, and again, I would love to show this like on a podium, but we are sitting remote. So what we've done is the following, and this is all based on the new Dynamics AX, as I will show you in demo in a minute as well. I have a little temperature sensor, which is this MyBlue device that's sitting right next to me now, and we have a little program that captures all this information and stores that directly into AX. And then AX is reading all that information, and with the with some predefined settings, and that's actually the business rule that we have been implementing. With some information, you can say, okay, if the device is passing these thresholds, then you automatically create a work order because it needs maintenance. And then results of such an action can be viewed very, very nicely in Power BI. Because in fact, to capture this data and to show it in Power BI is very easy these days. And as you might know, Power BI is also one of the new Microsoft products, and we are really excited to use that. So you see the steps here in the base process. You have the things that you get data from, that you give insight, and that allows you to take action. This process we have tried to showcase in this way. So that brings me to the new AX. Let me now just share my screen, and you will see a part of a live demo in that way. Just a moment, please. So here is where you see the standard opening screen of the new Dynamics AX with all the modules in there. What we have done in the back, we have this little device, as I mentioned, this temperature watcher, that's running in the back, and you can see it's reading temperature like every 30 seconds or so. And we have a very nice temperature. We look for the odd thunderstorm to come up tonight. But this is information that's coming in all the time. So the sensor is sitting out there. It's just a Bluetooth sensor, but that's just, because of the showcase, but it's a device that's sitting out there, and this device is capable of generating data. We capture the data and we store it in AX, and that's what I'm going to show you now. because here is my sensor readings. If I just refresh this for a moment and show the latest values, let me just quickly change the value here, saying, okay, let me bring this one back to 19 degrees. And let's just wait a little moment for the next one to arrive. It will take a few seconds. And then what you will see is the next step that we did. Of course, if you want to wait for it, you need to have a little bit of well, there we are. So what has happened now in the back is that you see that the temperature has dropped below 20, and actually the temperature is a bit high now. It's not the temperature in my room, but I have been sitting this thermometer right next to my laptop, so the temperature was exceeding 40 degrees, which is like 100 degrees Fahrenheit. You guys are used to that in the US. We are not here in Holland. Nevertheless, you know, the configuration has been done, and now, as you can see, all of a sudden a work order call has been generated automatically by the system. And if I show you here the business rule behind it, saying, okay, we've got this sensor, this WeatherHawk, MyBlue, and we say, okay, I want these values to be between 10 and 20, and if it exceeds or goes below, I want the system to automatically generate a work order for a particular object. Yeah. And this is directly generating this work order from the device, actually. Yeah, so that was the kind of a trick that I just did. I mimicked it a little bit, and as you can see now, there is no new call being generated because the system has seen there is, you know, it went below and it went above, so only one call. You don't need 500 calls to be on the same kind of problem that needs to be raised. So it's only one. Well, if I now show you the work order screen, and let me just show the latest one here. As you can see, there's a couple of them which have been generated as a test, and also from this morning session and now the afternoon session, it's all the same. So, and this is what we mean with, you know, predictive or proactive maintenance, because it is not me generating something manually. It is not me running a batch job to have the system decide to run maintenance schedule and run based on that schedules, but this is because of an actual event that was automatically raising a work order, and that's absolutely the new, you know, the new way of generating work orders. So nothing to be predefined. It's just an event saying, okay, we have a temperature issue here, and because of the business rule behind it, this generates me a new service work order, and now I have to have a look at it. So, and then it's very simple to show. What I have got over here is just a little overview of Power BI. Let me quickly refresh it. It will take a couple of seconds. But I can see already, you know, I have a number of work orders. So it tells me that for this month I had already 33 work orders with the same problem. And so that's, you know, valuable management information, because me as a manager can see there is definitely something going wrong with this odd temperature here. And then you can just build very simple kind of graphs, as I've just taken a couple of examples here. It's really very simple to do. And this is just making an OData connection into AX7. It's set up, took me no more than 10-15 minutes. And then you can see, you know, what's the average here. Well, it's a little bit of spiky kind of a graph, but it has been running for a couple of hours now, as you can see. And on purpose, I took it sometimes below 20 just to create a number of new work orders. And then you can see that the room temperature is around 26. And then here I had it like close to my laptop where it hits the 40 degrees Celsius. And you can see that just in my graph. So in this way, you know, it's a very simple way of just capturing the data from the device, and that's the sheer amount of data. I mean, you can see this graph here, which is showing a bar of all the data. And now how to transfer that into information, because this single number is information, saying how often did it happen? Well, 34 times. Okay, that's what I want to know. Is it a problem or not? That's for me as a manager to justify. And of course, there's other ways, like this is just an average temperature, where the average is here 27, and the lowest value has been measured was 18, and the highest was 43. So just a couple of BI examples, just to show you the power also of Power BI and the simplified way of getting this all connected. But again, it starts out, and we'll now go back to my PowerPoint. It starts here saying, okay, I have the device that needs to provide me the data, and usually that's way too much data. So as a user, you need to capture the data and to transform that with business rules into information. And in this way, again, it was just exceeding the temperature that was causing the service call. But again, you can imagine it can be a combination of several parameters that you want to read and when you capture and you want to validate. And then, transfer that actual information into operational data. So in AX, it was the work order that we created, but also in the Power BI where we can view the graphs and the timelines and also the condensed information. So, well, this is what we mean in a nutshell, with proactive maintenance as a new way of generating work orders for maintenance. Instead of having to monitor, it's the devices and the system itself that give you the information proactively. Well, I'm getting towards the end of the webinar here. Just a little outlook to what we are working on. We are getting towards the end of the second quarter. We are working to get maintenance management on the new AX up in the marketplace in July of this year, so it will be a week or two before we have done that. And that is, of course, containing the best practice set of the system configuration. It will be in LCS of Microsoft, which is also new. So it should be very easy to configure and easy to install. And and again, with the showcases that we are having, and we get more and more questions of customers also saying, okay, how can we utilize these kind of new tools from Microsoft also in other business areas, but also in maintenance, to see how we can go and embark on a new era from preventative towards predictive maintenance. Having said this, it's time, to go for the Q&A session.
Okay, so please do enter your questions now. You can use that Q&A block you should see to the right side of the presentation window here. Our first question, does this module support the use of a dispatcher who would receive all trouble calls and dispatch maintenance personnel to the problem machine?
Yeah, let me read the question. If the module supports the use of a dispatcher? Yes, it does also support that. In fact, what I was just showing is a very comprehensive way of a device generating a call. But again, let me just maybe share my screen for a moment. Hang on, that's the wrong one. Share my screen again. What you can see here, if I show you the service calls, this is the way that a dispatcher can look at saying, okay, this is the problem, and now you can just go and didn't show that too much, but now I can just go and take it in and manage it and work in that way also towards what we call a task. Well, let me quickly show that. If I go into the task, saying, okay, here, what is the task which is lying below it? That is showing you the detailed information. So, okay, the call is telling me the problem. There was a temperature threshold mismatch, and the task says it needs to be repaired. And it has already been predefined to a particular worker. This can also be a group of workers, like a dispatcher group. We call it in the Excel resource group. And then you can just select from the resource group or have the system select one of the workers. Yeah, there's much more to tell about that. If you want to know more about that, I can go and show you a little bit more detailed functionality as well.
Okay, I want to make a last call for questions here as we get into the next one. When you schedule work orders for preventative maintenance, does master planning take the machinery out of order to plan or schedule production orders?
Let me get back. When you schedule work orders, does master planning take the machinery out of order to plan, schedule production orders? That's a very good question. Actually, we have got some tools. Again, I should have to show that. We have in the graphical planning board the possibility to take the machinery out manually. And in the version that we are planning for the end of this year, we want also to enhance this, to have the automatic integration between production and maintenance. So in fact, technically it's a simple step to do because we need to connect one entity called the resource to the equipment, and then that should be the base to also do this. So my answer is yes, we do it manually now, and we'll do it automatically in the next version, which is due at the end of this year.
Okay, someone asks, how much does a module like this cost in, they say, ballpark? So can you give an estimate or a range?
Yeah, that's a question. If possible, I would like to pass it on to our account manager. They have got some figures. I don't know them by heart, and they can be they can be depending on several ways. They're depending on the number of users that you want to have. Yeah, the type of functional enterprise users. It's a little bit difficult for me to tell, but I can pass this question on, and somebody can just reach out to you with providing you the ballpark cost.
When a work order is executing, if technical people look for something that must be fixed later, can they schedule or plan a new work order from the ones that have been executed?
Yes, they can. In fact, what I've been telling about the mobile solution that we have is exactly doing this. You can say, okay, I can see that I fixed one problem, but I want to create a new work order because I saw something new. That's exactly one of the features that we offer on the tablet, saying, okay, you can just scan the equipment or type in the equipment code and create a work order for it for somebody else to be picked up later. So the answer is yes.
Great, thanks for the question. Okay, now I will make one last call for questions here as we begin to wrap up. I want to remind folks we did record today's event, so we'll be making a recording available soon. I also want to let you know that we do have a brief survey that should pop up after the session ends, and we would very much appreciate your feedback on today's session. We at MS Dynamics World appreciate it, and I know our presenters always appreciate getting feedback too about what you liked, what you would change next time for our sessions. One more question that I see here, Vim. Does the dispatch function incorporate inputting a start-stop time?
Yes, it does. It works both ways. You can actually do it with start-stop, and then the system is just recording actual time, or you do an estimate of hours beforehand and you register the actual hours afterwards. So we support both the scenarios. So yeah, the answer is yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, we will begin wrapping up now. You can see Vim has put contact information up on the screen, so feel free to continue that way. We will be alerting you when the recording is available. And with that, we are going to wrap up today's session. Vim, thank you so much for presenting today.
Okay, it was my pleasure, and I look forward to meeting you next opportunity somewhere. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Okay.